Hey, let's talk about Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, a game I played and enjoyed these past couple days pretty quickly. It's not a super long game. It took me I think we say just over 8 hours to beat it, uh, and that's totally fine. I mean, to get it out of the way, I really like this game. It is something super special in many respects too. It's not just it's tackling mental illness in an interesting and in a way we really haven't seen. There's not any other example that you could really think of that I know of where there's she's hearing voices, you get to hear the voices, there's hallucinations or all these sorts of things, and they feel part of the game, and it almost betrays itself because you could play this game, and I did, where you see everything and you think, well, what's weird about this? Like, yeah, she's hears voices, but what's weird about this? But you start to think about it more and peel back some of these layers and realize that it's kind of all in her head. And did any of this happen? No, but at the same time, yes, it was real to her. And that's an interesting kind of dynamic. It almost makes me want to go and play the game again because there's all these little things you could notice and pick up, like what's really going on here. She's battling her demons, and I would say literal demons, but they're not real. So, not literal demons. It's such a unique game in that respect, but there are also some really cool things they've done here with motion capture and facial capture and real actors kind of layered in to the gameplay in ways that I wish someone hadn't had said that they were real actors and that I had figured it out later, because I don't know. It might have come as a surprise to me, but it works really well, and I think it's super cool, and it's something that we could totally use in a bunch of different games. Like, this would have solved a lot of problems in other games. Just hire a bunch of actors and have them in this weird, they're like digitized in this, it almost looks like old VHS stuff, sometimes like blurring in and out of focus, but so it's like a vision. It's great work they did on that. Not to mention the actual CG of it all is stunning. I mean, just beautiful work here, from the animations to just the character's face, and everything you see is one of the most beautiful, imaginative, just strikingly gorgeous games I've ever seen. I was playing I'm playing through the Evil Within to get ready for 2, and I was playing the Evil Within, and then like a couple hours later I went to play more of Hellblade, and it was just, whoa, this night and day. Now, granted, the Evil Within's 3 years old, but seeing what they do in this game is just, it's immaculate. I mean, this doesn't do it justice. Like, you got to go in and play it and see all the weird animations and the acting by whoever they have doing the main character is fantastic. There's also, I guess I should talk more about the actual gameplay. Hey, Will. Nice. I don't know what's nice about this. I think some things about this video seems like it's in slow motion. It's a very slow trek through this. This is the opening of the game. And it's one of these games too that is very confident in itself, I would say, for the most part. It has combat, and I think the combat's really fun and actually super varied with a bunch of enemy types. Like, this guy is just fast and he has the sword. This guy has a mace. This guy has a mace and a shield. This guy has 2 axes, and you're fighting them in different ways. And it has a lot of kind of perfect dodge, perfect block kind of mechanics where, okay, the guy's attacking, block. And if you block just before it happens, it stuns them and you get a couple hits off. Or you can kick as well, so you can kick down the shield and now attack that guy. And it starts layering in these enemies where, okay, the shield guy's over here, the other guy's trying to flank me. That's really fun. I really enjoy the combat, and it sometimes overstays its welcome, which is a problem I'll get to after this. But for the most part, it is peppered in throughout, and not in a way of like, oh, we're fighting all the time. There's a good, I would say, 2-hour portion in the middle of this game where you don't fight anything. You lose your sword through reasons, and you don't fight anything for 2 whole hours. And it's so cool to see a game an action game for all intents and purposes, do that and do it well. It's not a thing where it's like, oh, you gotta have the obligatory fight scene now. It has it at the end, and it's a little too much at the end, I would say. But a lot of these things are just battling Senua's demons. It's like, oh, she's afraid of the dark in this section. It's like dealing with that in these clever ways, or finding patterns in the world, which is someone could actually deal with and have these, another symptom of this psychosis. That is so cool. It's handled very well in a way of like, why am I finding patterns? It seems like a very gamey thing of finding these. It's like a puzzle where you got to find shadows or objects that that interact or overlap with each other to form rune shapes. And you start to think like, oh no, this is her in her head being like, I gotta find this to get to this door. Like it's a very interesting idea of almost gamifying psychosis. This is a symptom someone could have that would prevent them from literally opening a door because they have to find a pattern in the world, which sounds absurd, but is totally real. And it happens a lot in this game, maybe too much, but it's so cool to kind of see it like that. And it's not in your face. It's not telling you. It's not like a little pop-up that appears in the corner and says, hey, this person's crazy. She got to find patterns. Like it's totally respectful and really smart. Very smart. Not even, and I kind of glossed over this. The voices are done in this creepy, very interesting way that people, and there's this little documentary that's included in the game, supposedly very accurate to the way some people actually hear voices. And that's, I think, super cool. I mean, they're not all negative. They're not all mocking. Some of them are helpful, and it's weird to hear these different voices kind of yelling at you and supporting you, and you'll be fighting guys and they're like, watch out, he's behind you, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? Like it's really cool. And the other elements, it's almost a horror game at times in a very surprising way, in addition to being a great action game and a game that uses the not often used Norse mythology kind of angle with these little rune things. Yeah, positivity with a little thumbs up, man. It's good to be positive, Will. These Norse stories are also super fascinating, and I love hearing them. I'm not someone who's like, I read Beowulf and I really liked it, but that's probably the closest thing I've done to dive into that realm of Celtic lore or whatever. Well, I don't even think Beowulf counts as Norse at all. I definitely don't think it does. But you get what I'm saying. It's the same kind of family in that area of the world / time, roughly. But hearing all these Norse stories of like, oh, this god had this son, and here's Fafnir, and he did this thing, and you're like, this is really cool story. I just really enjoy hearing this story about these Norse whatever, and it's told from this weirdo guy who's creepy and is also live action distilled in, and you start to have I mean, I can't spoil. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think that it's not like it doesn't end and it's in modern day or something. You know, it's not a spoiler like that, but it is an experience, and it is one of those games that I feel like in a year I will still look back at. Like someone will say Hellblade, and I'll be like, oh man, I remember that game. That was incredible. That was a good time. What it does for games is twofold. That's what's so, I think, important about Hellblade, is that not only does it approach mental illness and the psychosis in a very interesting and way that could help people understand it more, it also pushes the boundary for motion capture and facial capture and all these sorts of acting in a video game. It, like I said, it's strikingly gorgeous. At times, it's almost, it reminds me of CG in a movie. It reminds me of the characters they added in. Like, oh, here's a good example. What's his face? That's not a good example if you're calling him what's his face. In Rogue One. Tarkin? Yeah, that's his name. What's his face is not his name. It reminds me of him. It was all CG. I mean, the guy must have died 20 years ago. All CG, and he looks relatively fine. I would say this looks almost like that, where it almost looks real. And you're like, no, but it's not. Instead of the reverse of Uncanny Valley, where you can feel it as a game trying to be real, this feels like you're watching a movie that's just not quite real. It's a weird, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what it feels like. It's like the reverse Uncanny Valley, where like, this is all real, but it's not real. You know it's not real. I don't even know if that makes sense, but that's what it feels like, because it's so well done. I think the only, and this is a weird sticking point for me because I get hung up on dumb shit like this, is her mouth is like constantly a little open. If you look at it, it's always like a little open, but it's like a little too open. And it just bothers me. It just doesn't seem right. Her mouth is too open all the time in a way that doesn't strike me as realistic. But that's just me, and that's my own psychosis. Like, why is this open? Like, freaking out. That's a stupid thing to complain about, because compared to everything else, it's gorgeous. Like, if you thought the capture in Uncharted or something was good, like, this is above and beyond anything I've seen in a game. It's not the flesh bag faces of L.A. Noire by a long shot. And you look at something like this, like the ocean, and how beautiful the waves are coming in. It's the tech behind some of the stuff they do, and some of the weird hallucinations and things like texture work of the world, like not warping around you, but it just grays and it morphs. It's some really creative stuff and tech behind this that is endlessly impressive to me. And I'd love to see a game, it sounds stupid to say this, but I'd love to see a game, I always go back to Resident Evil 4, like Resident Evil 4, in this graphic style. And there's a photo mode, because I just, it's so stunning. I want to see more things just in this. It's just Unreal, but what they've done in Unreal is unreal. And there's a photo mode, and something about photo modes recently have just, I do it a lot in Horizon. I'm playing this game, I'm taking photos. It's a ton of fun. I think it's pretty damn great game. Like I said, it's 8 hours long. I found a good 90% of the collectibles. It's not something where you beat it and you can go and replay a chapter. So there's that. It's kind of a one and done thing. Here I found a hole in the wall that they should probably patch. So there's a little bit about that, but I think, it's $30. It's not a full price thing. For the experience alone, I would say it's pretty well worth it. That depends on you as a person, but I love the experience of it. Is it one of my favorite games of the year or games of all time or whatever? I don't know quite yet. I just beat it this morning, a couple hours ago, and it kind of needs a little more time to kind of gestate. But look at look at the water. 10 out of 10 water's right, Will. I don't know. I think I would say it's in my top games of the year. Just it's an experience. It's not like the gameplay was 10 out of 10 or that it would need to be to make games of the year, but it's something I'll remember for a long time, and I think that's more powerful than a perfect gameplay experience. It was pretty well, actually. I didn't have any problems. I had one glitch towards the end where you're like crawling and she wouldn't get up, so I died twice. I was like, why aren't you getting up? And then I just exited the game, reloaded the save, and it worked. I'm like, all right, I guess something happened. I don't know. So that's fun. Not at all. But besides that, no problems. The puzzles are creative. It's a little much sometimes. I'm not good at finding runes and shadows, I feel like. But, neither here nor there. That's an interesting thing they do too with the auto difficulty in the game, where if you die a bunch of times, it'll get easier. And if you don't die, I think it gets harder. So that, I don't know how that exactly works. You can turn it to easy, normal, hard, but by default it is auto. And I just left it on auto to see what it would do. I didn't die too many times. I think I died more from that stupid crawling mishap than I did from a lot of the rest of the game. And the whole permadeath thing is a bluff, so that's not real. And it doesn't affect the ending as far as I know if you die or if you don't die or whatever. That's all nonsense. Great game. Merry Christmas, Hellblade. I don't think the Norsemen had Christmas. Did they? Will, did they have Christmas? Let me know in the comments below. Right here. It's interesting too. I had the subtitles on. The subtitles on top are the voices in your head. Fun fact.